Fall 2019 semester exam review. Watch this video and listen to how to do each one of these. Don't just copy this to get the full benefit of this video. Number 1, write an algebraic expression for each of the phrases below. A, the sum of x and 4. Sum means we're going to be combining them, we're adding them. X and 4, the word and also means plus. So our expression is x plus 4. B, the difference between 3 and x. Difference means that we're subtracting. 3 and x, and is plus. It says the difference between, so we have 3 and x. Since it's a difference, we're going to change this to a subtraction sign. C, a product of 2 and h. Product is multiplication. So we're multiplying 2 times h, which is just 2h. That means 2 times h. D, a quotient of 12 and m. Quotient means we're dividing. 12 divided by m. So we have 12 over m. That means 12 divided by m. Number 2, for h of x equals 6x plus 3, find h of negative 2. So we have h of negative 2 equals 6 plus 3. Inside these parentheses, we put negative 2. Everywhere we see an x in this expression, we will substitute it with the parentheses negative 2. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12 plus 3. These are different sides, so we subtract. We have 9, and the sign is negative because the bigger number, it has a negative sign. So h of negative 2 equals negative 9. Number 3, what is the domain and range of the function below? So to find domain, that's left, right, x. So we look at the left x. Let's make a vertical line. That vertical line is x equals 0. Let's look at the right x. Right here. Let's draw another vertical line. That x equals 4. So your domain, you take the left x, 0. You take the right x, you put that on the right side. We're talking about the letter x, so we put x in the middle. Put our less than signs. The left x is an open hole. That means there's no line. This is a closed point, so we put a line. Let's find our range. Range is down, up, y. So we're going to look at the lowest y, our down y, and write a horizontal line going through it. That y value is 4. Y equals 4. Y is the second number in this ordered pair. Let's look at the up y, the highest y. Draw our horizontal line. That horizontal line is y equals 7. So we take the down y and we write it right here. And we write the up y and we put it right here. We're talking about range, so we could put the letter y. We could also put f of x. We'll put our less than symbols. The lowest one is a closed point. That's a line. The highest one is an open hole. There's no line. So that's your domain and range of this graph. Number 4, what is the domain and range of 5, 4, 6, 2, 3, 2, and 6, 1? Let's look at our domain. The domain is the first number of each ordered pair. So we have 5, 6, 3, 6. Usually when we list domain items, we list them in order from least to greatest. The one on the leftmost side of the number line to the rightmost side of the number line. Sometimes your answer choices will be like actually 5, 6, 3, 6. Or it could be reordered as 3, 5, 6. And 6 is repeated twice, so we don't have to write that 2 different times. Now for the range, the y values, that's the second number of each of these. 4, 2, 2, 1. So our range from lowest to highest would be 1, 2, 4. Since these are just numbers that are being listed, this is not contiguous. This is discrete. Number 3 was not discrete. We have less than or equal to symbols, and we have a line. You can make as many points on the line as you need. So that's not discrete, that's contiguous. And contiguous is measured. Number 5, solve the system of equations. 2x plus 5y equals 17, and 6x minus 5y equals negative 9. So you could always put this in the calculator, calculate menu 3-2, enter, type the first equation, the first box, go down, second equation, the second box, and enter. It will give you the answer x comma y. But I'm going to show you how to do it using elimination. So for elimination, you want to eliminate either x or y. If you just combine these two equations the way they are, the 5y's automatically cancel because 5y minus 5y is 0y. 2x plus 6x is 8x, and 17 minus 9 is 8. From there, you will divide each term by the number from x. In that case, it's 8. 8x divided by 8 is 1x. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 1x equals 1. So that's the answer to the x part. To get y, you just plug this number back into one of the original equations and solve for y. So we have 2 times 1 plus 5y equals 17. 2 times 1 is 2. Carry everything else down. Let's get the y by itself. First, we will subtract 2 each expression. In the last step, we will divide each term by the coefficient in front of y, which is 5. 5y divided by 5 is 1y. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Y equals 3. So your intersection is 1, 3. That's your solution to the system of equations. Number 6, solve the system of equations. 3x plus 2y equals 1. And 4x plus 3y equals -2. So again, we could graph this to the calculator, find the intersection. We could put it to the graph, or we could put it to calculate and find our intersection. Or we could also use elimination to get either the x or the y canceled out. Let's go ahead and get rid of the y's again. But 2y plus 3y is not 0y, so we have to do something else first. We need to make it so that these cancel. 2y times 3 is 6y, and 3y times -2 is -6y, and those would cancel out. But if you multiply a number into one term, you have to do it to all three of them on both sides of that equation. 3 times 3x is 9x. 3 times 2y is a plus 6y. 3 times 1 is 3. And then we do the second equation. -2 times 4x is -8x. -2 times 3y is a -6y. -2 times -2 is a +4. Now we're ready to add the two rows together. We're combining the like terms for each of the two equations together. 9x minus 8x is 1x. 6y minus 6y is 0y. They eliminated. They are eliminated. 3 plus 4 is 7. So 1x equals 7. Plug this into one of the original equations to find y. Let's plug it into equation 2. 4 times 7 plus 3y equals -2. 4 times 7 is 28. Carry everything else down. We want to get the y by itself. So first we need to get rid of the constant on that side. So subtract 28 from each expression. 28 minus 28 is 0. Carry down the 3y. Carry down the equal sign. -2 and -28 is a -30. They're the same size, so we add them. It's negative because we're adding negatives together. The last step, we will divide each term by 3. 3y divided by 3 is 1y. -30 divided by 3 is -10. Y equals -10. So we have 7 comma -10. That's our solution. That's our intersection here. Number 7. Solve the equation. -4 equals x divided by 4 plus 2. So the first step we want to do is get rid of that constant on the side with the x. Subtract 2 each expression. -4 minus 2 is -6. They have the same sign, so we combine them, we add. 4 plus 2 is 6. It's negative because we're adding the two negatives together. Carry down our x over 4, and 2 minus 2 is 0. The next step, we want to get rid of this 4. To get rid of a divided by 4, we multiply by 4 each term. 4 divided by 4 is 1. They cancel. 4 times -6 is -24. So 1x equals -24. And that's our solution. If you were to plug it back into the original equation, you would get a true statement. Number 8, the value of y is directly proportional to the value of x. If y equals 72 when x equals 270, what is the value of y when x equals 36? So we set up our proportion. We have y over x. And we know that when y is 72, x is 270. Since it's directly proportional, we can set up a proportion like this. The next part of the sentence asks for what is y when x is 36. So here's our proportion. From here we're going to cross multiply 72 times 36 and 270 times y. Well, 270 times y is just 270 y. And 72 times 36 is 2,592. So from here, we want to get the y by itself to isolate it. So we divide each term by 270. 270y divided by 270 is 1y. And 2,592 divided by 270 is 9.6. And that would be what y is. That would be your answer. Number 9, solve the inequality. -6 parentheses x minus 8 is less than 72. We want to distribute, subtract, divide. So first we distribute. We multiply each term by -6. There's two terms in here. -6 times 1x is -6x. -6 times -8 is a positive 48. A negative times a negative is a positive. Carry down the rest of the inequality. Less than 72. So we distributed. Now we subtract. Minus 48 each expression. Bring down the -6x. 48 minus 48 is 0. Bring down the less than sign. 72 minus 48 is 24. So we subtracted. Now divide. We're dividing by the coefficient in front of x. That's -6. Divide each term by -6. -6x divided by -6 is 1x. 24 divided by -6 is -4. When we divide by negative, when we have inequalities, that inequality sign flips, becomes greater than. X is greater than -4. So when we divide or multiply by a negative number, like that -6, we flip the relation sign from less than to greater than. Or from greater than to less than, depending on what you started with. Number 10, write an equation that best describes the table below. Identify and describe the correlation of the values. So we have x and we have y. We're finding an equation and we're finding the correlation coefficient r. So if we calculate the change in x and the changes in y, 1 plus 1 would be 2, 2 plus 1 would be 3, and 3 plus 1 would be 4. 30 to 45 is plus 15, but 45 to 75 is not plus 15, it's plus 30. And 75 to 90 is also plus 15. Since these are not consistent with these changes, that means that it's not completely linear, and we're going to use the graphing calculator to calculate the regression for this, the linear regression model. So it's not completely linear since the change in y over the change in x is not, a ratio is not consistent. So on number 10, you'll go to your calculator, click on the green beaker. Then we click on this table. Notice there's already numbers in here, so we want to clear those out. Press Control, W, no. And then click the green beaker again. Click the table, type in the X numbers into the X column. And then we go to the Y's, and we type in the Y values in that column. Okay, after you've entered them all in, and make sure that one of the numbers is not highlighted like this, you go to the graph in the middle, graph view. We press menu, analyze 4, curve fit 6, and 1 linear. Keep pressing down till you see the letter R. So we have the slope is 21, the B or y-intercept is 7.5, and our R value is 0.9899. So we're going to go to our paper and write those down. So we know that y equals mx plus b. So we have y equals m, which was 21. X is just x. And then plus b, plus 7.5. And our r was 0.9899. If you round that, it will go to 1. That's strong. This is a positive number, so we'll circle positive. Number 11. The joggers of the Boston Marathon jogged at an average rate of 3 kilometers per hour. What is the rate of change for the joggers? Rate of change is something you'd want to underline or highlight. That's a key word. That's a key phrase. Rate of change means slope. That's M. The average rate is 3K. 3K per hour. So our rate of change is 3 kilometers per hour. 3 kph. That's it. 12. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. To do this one, here are the steps. Step 1, space. So we have 24x plus 6y equals space plus 72. Step 2, subtract 24x from each expression. And we put the negative 24x below the space because a variable and a constant are not like terms. 24x minus 24x is 0x. Carry down our 6y and our equal sign. Space minus 24x is negative 24x. Carry down that plus 72. And then our last step is to divide each term by 6. There's 3 terms here, so we divide 6 in 3 different places. 6y divided by 6 is 1y. Negative 24x divided by 6 is negative 4. And 72 divided by 6 is 12. So our equation in slope-intercept form is y equals negative 4x plus 12. Where our slope is negative 4 and our y-intercept is 0, 12. 13. Tyra wants to spend at most $75 while Christmas shopping. She wants to buy shirts S for $15 each and buy pants P for $25 each. Write an inequality that best describes Tyra's situation. From here, we will use the BHS method. B stands for box the numbers. Everywhere you see a number in this word problem, you're going to box it. So we have $75, $15, and $25. So we box the numbers. Step 2, we want to highlight. So she wants to spend at most $75. And the thing she's buying is shirts S and pants P. And we're looking for an inequality. Not an equation, an inequality. Okay, the S stands for select tools to eliminate choices and solve. There's no choices here, so we have to select a different tool. It says the word at most, and at most means we can't get any bigger than that. So we know that that value has to be less than. It could include $75 though, so we'll put a line under it. At most is less than or equal to. And we know that shirts is $15 each, so we put 15 in front of the S. We also have the word and, that's a plus sign. Pants P, 25 each. So we're going to put $25 in front of the P for pants. So once you write an equality for this, so if she buys shirts for $15 and pants for $25 each, she can't spend any more than $75. What goes in between these two would be the less than or equal to sign. And that would be our answer. That is our inequality that describes this situation. 15s plus 25p is less than or equal to 75. Number 14, find the slope of this line. So first we want to see if it's increasing or decreasing. This is a decreasing line, so we know their slope is going to be negative. Next, we want to find 2 lattice points on this graph. We have one right here, and we have one right here. And lattice points are just points that intersect both of the grid lines at the same time. This would be a lattice point. This is a lattice point. This is a lattice point. These are all lattice points, but they're not on the line, so we're not choosing those. The next step, you want to draw a triangle. After you draw your triangle, you want to count the rises. But let's first see how much each square is worth. These squares are worth 1 each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It rose 5. And let's see how many it ran. Each square for the run is 1 as well. So we have 1, 2, 3. It ran 3. So the rise was 5 and the run was 3. So our slope is negative 5/3. 15. What is the effect of the parent function f of x equals x when f of x is replaced by g of x equals 3 f of x minus 5? So since we know f of x equals x, we could graph that. If we were to graph that, the line would look kind of like this. G of x, since f of x equals x, we just have to put 3x minus 5. If you're to graph that one on the calculator, it would look more like this. So we know from the blue line to the red line went down 5. The slope also changed. It's now 3. 3 is further from 0 than 1, so it's steeper. So it's steeper, and it went down by 5 units. Number 16. Graph y equals 2. Y equals 2 is a hoy because it has a y in it. Because it's a hoy, the slope is 0. There's a 0 in the hoy. And you're already given the equation y equals 2. Now the h stands for horizontal, so you're going to make a horizontal line. So we go and find y equals 2, and we're going to make a horizontal line that goes through it. That's it. If it was a vux, that would be a vertical line. It would be undefined, and it would have x in the equation. 17. What is the x-intercept and y-intercept of the line negative 3x minus 4y equals 48? So to find the x-intercept, we plug in 0 for y and solve for x. So we have negative 3x minus 4 times 0 equals 48. And we don't even have to write this part. Just have negative 3x equals 48. Divide each term by negative 3 to get your x. So 1x equals negative 16. So negative 16 comma 0 is your x-intercept. And then for the y-intercept, we plug in 0 for x to solve for y. Negative 3 times 0 is just 0. Negative 4y equals 48. Divide each term by negative 4 to get your y. So 1y equals negative 12. So your y-intercept is 0 comma negative 12. That's your b, by the way. Your b is negative 12. Number 18. Write an equation that is perpendicular to the line y equals 2/3 x minus 3. For perpendicular slopes, you flip the fraction and change the sign. So first you identify the slope. It's in the y equals form, so that means that your m, your slope, is what's in front of the x, which is 2/3. So if you flip that fraction and you change the sign, it's now going to be -3/2. That's your new slope. It doesn't give you a point, so b could be any number you want. So we have y equals -3/2 x plus b, where b is any number unless you specify a point. Now if you do specify a point, b can only be one unique number, and you would plug in that point for x and y to solve for b. Number 19. Find the slope of the line that passes through the points 2, 6 and 3, 1. So we need to find this equation, m equals y2 minus y1, all divided by x2 minus x1. This formula will be on your formula chart for the tests. The next thing you want to do is label your points. We have x1, y1, x2, y2. And then we just plug in these numbers into this formula. So we have y2 right here, and we have y1 right here. x2, x1. These minus symbols will always be there, even if there's already a negative sign here. So y2 is 1 minus y1, which is 6, all over x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is 2. The most important thing here when you're doing these is that the 2's, the x2 and the y2 line up with each other, and the y1, the y2 line up with each other. Remember, the y's are on top of the x's. 1 minus 6, we're subtracting, and the bigger sign's negative, so we have -5. And then 3 minus 2 is 1. Your slope is -5, because -5 divided by 1 is just -5. 20. Are the lines below parallel, perpendicular, or neither? So we want to find the slope on both of these. To find the slope of a standard form, it's -a over b. Now you find a and b from using the standard form equation. So that first equation is in standard form. Let's identify what a and b are. A equals 6, and b equals -12. So -a over b equals -6 over -12. That equals 1/2. The slope of the second equation, it's already in the form y equals mx plus b, so it's just whatever's in front of the x, which is 1/2. 1/2 is the same thing as 1/2. They have the same slope, that means they're parallel. Parallel lines, same slope. So since both lines have a slope of 1/2, and they have different y-intercepts, they're parallel lines. 21. Write an equation that is parallel to the line y equals 3x minus 8 that passes through the point 1, 7. So on this one, we know parallel lines have the same slope, so your slope is going to be 3. Now b is going to be something different. So first we write out the equation of any parallel line to this line. 3x plus b. And we're going to solve for b using this point. So for x, we're going to plug in 1. For y, we're going to substitute 7. So when we plug them in, we get 7 equals 3 parentheses 1 plus b. 3 times 1 is 3. We want to get all the constants on one side, so let's subtract that 3 on both expressions. 3 minus 3 is 0. 7 minus 3 is 4. Carry down your b. b equals 4. So your equation that's parallel to this line and passes through this point would be y equals 3x plus 4. 22. What is the next term in the sequence? We have 8, 4, 2, 1. Each time we're halving it. So we multiply by 1/2 each time. That's our common ratio. So 1 times 1/2 would be 1/2. That's our next term. So this is a geometric sequence with a common ratio of 1/2, and the fifth term was 1/2. The next term would be 1/4, and then so on. Number 23. Write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. This is the same exact line that we had on number 14. So that means we know that the slope is -5/3. If you would like to see how I do this, how to find the slope, go back in the video to where I did number 14. Now we're going to find b. b is the y-intercept. That's where it crosses the y-axis. b equals 5. So we have the equation y equals mx plus b. Y equals -5/3 x plus 5. And that's our equation in slope-intercept form of this line. 24. What is the common difference for the sequence? 0, 1/2, 1, 3/2, 2. Each time we're adding 1/2. So our common difference is just 1/2 plus 1/2 each time. And this is an arithmetic sequence because we have a common difference instead of a common ratio. We're adding or subtracting something every time instead of multiplying and dividing something each time. 25. Using m equals 3 and the y-intercept of 0, -4, write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So recall y equals mx plus b. Well, m is 3, x is just x, and b is -4. So we have y equals 3x minus 4, and that's it. 26. Write an equation in point-slope form using m equals 4 and the point 1, -7. So the point-slope equation is also in your formulas. So we have y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So m is 4, x1 is 1, and y1 is -7. Plug these into the formula. Y minus y1, which is -7, equals m4 parentheses x minus x1, which is 1. Two negatives make a positive, so let's rewrite this. Y plus 7 equals 4 parentheses x minus 1. and that is the point-slope form. Linear equations can have a lot of different point-slope forms, but they can only have one slope-intercept form. 27. Is the statement below a causation? The more bread that is baked, the more flour that will be used. Let's assume that the bread is made out of flour. If we assume that, then the answer is yes, it is a causation. 28. Solve the system of equations by graphing. Y equals 1/3 x plus 2. We'll call that equation 1. And y equals negative x minus 2. Actually, we'll call the first one f of x. And we'll call the second one g of x. So let's graph these. So on f of x, let's identify the slope, m, and the y-intercept, b. M is what's in front of x when it's in the y equals form. That's 1/3. Your b is going to be a plus 2. It's above the x-axis by 2 units. It went up. So let's graph that. So our b is plus 2. Go ahead and label that. Our slope is 1/3, so that means it rises 1, runs 3. Rise 1, run 3. 1, 2, 3. Put a point. 1, 1, 2, 3. Up 1, right 3. 1, 2, 3. You can't go anywhere else that way, so let's go back to the starting point and do the opposite. Down 1, left 3. Down 1, left 3. Down 1, left 3. Down 1, left 3. Until you can't do it anymore. Let's go ahead and connect our points. And that's our f of x equation. That's our graph for the first equation. Now let's do g of x. The slope for that one is negative 1. The b for that one is minus 2, so it went down 2. It's 2 below the x-axis. So let's plot that point. And then this negative 1 means that it rises 1, runs 1. So it goes down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. And you keep doing that until you can't go any further off the grid. And then you go back to the starting point and do the opposite. Up 1, left 1. Up 1, left 1. Up 1, left 1. Up, left. Up 1, left 1. And you could go ahead and stop here since we already see where our intersection is, and that's what we're actually looking for. So if we connect these points, that's our g of x graph. This is our intersection. So that coordinate point is x is negative 3 and y is 1. It went left 3 and up 1 from the origin. So that's the solution to our system of equations. Of course, you could always use the graphing calculator to make this go by faster. You press graph menu 3 relation, type in the first equation, go down, type in the second equation, press enter. And then you would press menu 6 analyze 4 intersection. You drag the dashed lines to the left side and then scroll until you see the word intersection and then press enter, and then it will give you the intersection as well. Good luck on finals this week.